Hey there, gang. So today's video is going to be a highlight of a match that I played on stream, where I went up against a very strong team of survivors that played very efficiently, and all for the most part had decent to strong builds. Now, I don't exactly want to spoil what perks that they were running during the match. We can talk about that afterward, but it was on Groaning Storehouse. And why I want to talk about this match in this video today is because our win mostly hinged on a proper execution of tunneling, camping, and slugging, all in that fashion. You know, we could not, I think, have won this match against this team if we played otherwise, if we spread our hooks, or if we just also made mistakes. You know, this match, I think there were very few mistakes that were made on our part. And that's another reason too why I want to kind of showcase that, because even despite the lack of whatever mistakes we may have made on our end, excuse me, the survivors played very well and they almost got all the gens done. Ultimately, our win hinged on the strategies that we employed and also us playing well on our part. And again, the point of this video is we're going to be looking at camping, tunneling, slugging, and I don't think I mentioned it yet, we're also going to be talking about hook placement, where you hook a survivor, because that's also a very big deal. You know, a lot of people, I don't think, and I think this might be a big problem for a lot of inexperienced killers that are struggling in their matches, where you hook a survivor is very important, whether you tunnel or not. You know, if you hook a survivor, just as an example, let's say by main building, that can typically on a lot of maps open them up to windows, pallets, things of that nature. They can make it very hard to capitalize off of during the base kit BT window if the person who unhooks decides to body block. And that is something that you can kind of control. You know, you can't necessarily control what value once the survivor's been hooked at a location they get out of base kit BT, or even necessarily, you know, like I said, a survivor coming into body block. But what you can do is minimize it to the extent based on where you choose to hook that survivor. And that plays a big role in what you're going to see in this match. We had not one, but two instances of very strong hook placement that ultimately was pinnacle in deciding in our ability to snowball whatever pressure we had and control into a win for us in the match. And I don't really want to say more than that right now. You know, we can talk about everything that really transpired once y'all have really gotten to see everything that happened. But again, that is the point of this video. I want y'all to put emphasis on all of the strategies that I just talked about. Camping, tunneling, slugging, and hook placement. Okay, think about all of the all of those facets when you watch this match, and I'll see you guys afterward and we'll talk about things. Especially when you go to a storehouse. Not a big fan of this Macmillan map. Let's see. I mean, I feel like it has some okay, like, 3-gen positions, but it also has some really bad ones, too. I need to kick that door already. She's got a window right here, because this fucking... She doesn't! That or she just doesn't use it. Good thing we've got the bloomer and doomer. There we go, get this hit in. I'm gonna go all the way over here, what the fuck? Let's get the most out of that corrupt, you know what I mean? We're gonna save my yellow here. We're gonna cross up in between, because we've got her literally in here, unless she, like, lies out of the corner, which is why we cancel our reload. I figured she could potentially lie out of this corner, gang. Always want to keep that in mind. Now we get this down. That's why she was looking back like that. She was trying to fucking do that stupid shit. Oh, well. If I had a yellow, I could take her to this back corner. Actually, we can. Wow, this is actually good. No, this hook is insane. We need this hook. This hook is game-changing, because this is a very, very, very good tunnel spot. This is insane. This is actually really good. Okay, so now we need to get ready to kick that one door, by the way. That one door all the way over here, that needs to go. They're gonna get this gen done. The gen isn't the problem. We're doing this just to get the kick. They're likely gonna be going for the unhook. And remember, we have force penance. The whole point is we just need to be somewhat relatively nearby when this unhook does happen. So we can't go too far. Them getting that gen done does kind of suck, but it's not as much about her hitting second, because she likely is going to get unhooked early. Yeah, we can't stop it because of how much progress is left. Oh, they're going to reassurance it. If I was a bit closer. Yes! You shouldn't be able to do that, man. That's so fucking stupid. I hate DBD. Well, that's fine. We'll waste his time, too. As long as we keep her away from main building, we have 2 stacks of Q. She doesn't have any tunnel. Oh, she would have lost off the record off the grab anyways. We're gonna lunge early. The reason why I'm lunging early is so she can't get under the pallet. He's gonna fucking try for it anyways. I'm lunging this way just to get me out of the pallet range in case he does go for it. Get second. Damn, that really sucks, by the way, not being able to go and put her on that one hook back there on second. That's gonna really hurt me. We want to get an earlier unhook or some type of pressure from Quinn. This is actually great. We can do this. Oh my gosh. I'm gonna actually get a coup down. We're gonna down this with coup. Fuck it. Slug with coup. We're gonna slug with coup and go back. Slug with coup and go back. Because we want to push her away from main building for the actual down. Oh shit. If we get a forced penance here, that's actually really good. The FOV in this game, dude. We're not gonna hit because we want to get her closer. Get her closer. With Shack Pallet still being up, I can't afford to chase, by the way. I can't afford to chase the Fang with Shack Pallet still being up. We can confirm off of this with 2 bottles, though. Beautiful, and I don't think anybody's nearby, by the way. Force penance onto him. That's amazing. Holy shit. Now we can actually snowball. I might actually leave him injured and go for someone else because he's injured and he can't heal. We'll just go for one of these 2 people that isn't broken. We're going to reload and see if we can get her to abandon the pallet. Ay, dude. Window pallet, window pallet, window pallet. Fucking DBD in a nutshell, man. We can't afford to kick. Dude. There we go. That's 1. This is a good hook. With them all being injured, we get this. We can tunnel off a hook from here, too. Even though the gen's been done. This is a really good hook. Especially if they stay injured. Yeah, they're playing really efficiently. They probably all have adrenaline or some weird shit. We can actually pressure this. They're getting together to heal, aren't they? I'm just gonna kick this. We're actually gonna kick this. We want to keep them split. Can I? Holy fucking shit. GG's. Fucking tough game, dude. Tough map. This is a tough map. This is a good team. No, this was a good team. This was a really good team. This fucking map was awful. That was a good beam save that they got earlier. That almost like cost me a lot of pressure, if not the whole game. That was really good. It was a very, very tough, insane game. It's faster to hook everybody. I would normally give hatch, but it's just a lot faster to hook, gang. Because I've got them all just like hanging on hook otherwise. Yeah, this is a situation where you want Unbreakable. Unbreakable allowed me to snowball the win here, because if I didn't slug like this, we probably wouldn't have won. You need to understand, and this is a really, really like important skill set when it comes to macro understanding. You need to know when you need to attempt a slug. You know, if you just really stick to the safe plays, you're gonna like likely not win. You might 2K, you know, it might like mean that you definitely get the 2K, but you're not gonna be winning as much. Say GG well played. Yeah, they did play well. That was a fucking tough game. Made for this, made for this, made for this. The one person who went down the easiest is the one with the most casual build. You know what I mean? This is mentioned that. For the people without buckle up, very interesting. Very interesting for the people without buckle. I mean, it helps him, not the person. If we just down them, technically per se. Yeah. Yeah, GG's. They did play well. Yeah, not a single person with Unbreakable doesn't really help you there. Alrighty, gang. So that was a very tough and close game. And let's talk exactly why that was the case. Going first over the builds, let's look at what every survivor was bringing. Alright, so first we've got a Kate. This was not the Kate we tunneled first. She had Resilience. I believe this was Deja Vu. Forgive me, the eyes are a little bit different at the time. Made for this and Windows. The Quentin, and this is important, pay attention to the Quentin's perks because we're going to talk about this later. He had For the People, Made for This, Reassurance, and Windows. This Quentin was probably the MVP of the team. When it comes to someone who really provided the most support and really stalling out our main objective of eliminating this Kate at the bottom right here, this Quentin did the most. And that's not to take away from their teammates, right? This other Kate here, Depression and the thing, they did what they're supposed to do. Again, we were sitting at 1 gen remaining. The way you play against Clown is someone needs to provide some support for the tunnel out, and the rest of the teammates need to do gens. I want to repeat that. Do gens. Emphasis on do gens. Notice how I didn't mention healing? Because doing gens takes precedence. And this is even despite the lack of adrenaline, gang. This is despite adrenaline, because here's the deal. If those gens don't get done, right, and Clown, you know, is tunneling and camping, you're not getting out. And not only that, here's the other deal. If Clown is spreading hooks, and you do those gens, you know, taking precedence over the healing, when the, you know, again, the Clown's not tunneling, you are getting out. I'll say that very confidently. Again, look at these survivors' builds. Made for this, made for this, made for this, resilience, resilience, for the people, etc., etc. Again, Quentin the MVP because he actually is the build that counters our strategy. If I was spreading my hooks against this team, and they were just doing gens, especially with the resilience bonus, I would not have beaten this team. I'm not going to say, oh, maybe there's a chance. The only chance that would have existed is if they deliberately made the decision to throw. Because once all those gens are done, and it's just a matter of opening that exit gate and getting out of the match, there's really no agency that exists for you as the killer. Especially Clown. Because again, Clown lacks map mobility. See, what makes Clown again so good is he draws the pressure through his hyper-aggression in the 1v1. You have to make other survivors on the team make the conscious decision to pull away from their primary objective to stall your primary objective because you, again, are a 1v1 killer. You win your 1v1, you remove that person, you go from a 1v4 to a 1v3, and then when you initiate another 1v1, drawing the pressure from the rest of the team onto you to a 1v2, that is huge pressure that cannot be understated. And that is a big reason why Clown especially capitalizes off of tunneling survivors very early out of the match. If these survivors stuck on gens again, and I spread my hooks with the resiliences, with the made for thises, the chases would go on very long. We would have had so many more resources we would have to go through on the map. Again, I encourage y'all to go back and look at all the tiles we went through. How many tiles, how many pallets did we kick? Did anyone notice how many pallets we kicked that match? I'll give y'all a hint. We kicked Kill Shack. We did kick Kill Shack, but really, how many pallets did we break? Did y'all notice? Think about how many pallets would still be left on the map. Think about how many gens would have been popped if we would have resorted to kicking those pallets and going through every other resource that remains instead of playing how we did, right? See, that's the whole deal. Really good survivors are going to punish your lack of map mobility and the requirement that you have to commit fully to a chase in order to create any lasting pressure. That is why every time I get an inch, when I play Clown, I take a mile. I will camp, I will tunnel, and I will slug. I will play around the hyper efficiency of survivors with their made for thises and the resiliences of sitting on generators by making sure that whoever especially isn't in that position, isn't running those perks and also gets hooked early, I will keep them essentially at that injured state before I take them out of the match. Because once I do that, it changes the whole state of the game in a drastic way. And suddenly, after that happens, this strategy that we see from these survivors with their triple made for this, with their double resilience, and their hyper aggression of sitting on these gens, well, suddenly it backfires, right? If y'all notice, it backfires because what happens? Well, what happens is they're all injured. I have coup de grace, right? And there's only 3 survivors left. So what do? I start slugging. I win this game, because I 3-man slugged this team. They don't have any real means of countering slugging once it happens because no one brought Unbreakable, right? Notice how there's no Unbreakable? Now, would it have been problematic if someone brought Unbreakable? Yes, it would. But unless that person was Quentin, well, then there's going to be no problem. Because as long as we rehook the Quentin, put him back on that hook again that we put in the corner, that means that we have a very good tunnel out to secure the 2K. And as long as we do that, again, with everybody being injured and they have to pick up the slugs, there's going to be very little chance that happens before the gen pops, which does give me opportunity to secure a 3K if I can find a survivor during the post-gen phase. Again, this is all a big deal, and this is why playing around tunneling survivors out and playing around the risky decisions of remaining injured is so pinnacle as Clown. Because the thing about Clown is Clown gets hits or tags, he gets those very easily. Now, getting the down is a lot harder. Because when it comes to getting it down and you really look at things in the full scope, survivors can pre-run to make getting the injury hard. They get the injury, they hold W with the speed boost, and now suddenly you have to redo everything over again just to get the down when there's the possibility of the pre-run. And if you consider using some bottles previously just to get that injury state, you're likely now going to have to reload. Do you kind of get really what it all breaks down? That's kind of why I'm going step by step right now with you just off the top of my head, because I've gone through this so many times. Right? I've gone through this so many times, and that's essentially why it is so hard to really fully just commit to chasing these survivors for so much time, okay? You have to play around the injuries so smartly. And if these survivors remain injured, you can capitalize off by slugging unless they have Unbreakable. Now, does that again, let's go back to this. Does that mean that their decision to remain injured and crank out those gens was the wrong decision? No, because they got most of the gens done. Again, they're running perks, which makes their gen speeds even faster. Hello to the follow, by the way. And that means, as a result, that they came the closest to having the best chance of the most survivors getting out. Because here's the thing, gang. If they did not sit in those gens with the resilience as well injured, if they wasted that time while healing, here's what would have happened. I would have still tunneled out the Kate. I would have still tunneled out the Kate, and after that would have happened, I would have still tunneled out the Quentin. You know, they would have probably been maybe close to on the, gen counter, 1 gen remaining by the time I got Quentin out, but they could have still been at 2. And then what happens, right? If you have 2 kills with, 2 uncompleted gens on the field with Deadlock, that's almost assuredly a 3K. Almost assuredly. There's very little that the survivors would be able to do at that point, outside of some type of divine miracle, genuinely. And that's what it all boils down to. Because again, what was it that happened this game that really won things in our favor against the hyper efficiency of this team? First things first, again, this Kate, she had a casual build, but what do y'all notice? For one thing, no made for this, but no anti-tunnel. No anti-tunnel. Where did we hook her at first, gang? Let's go back to that. Look at this hook. Hopefully it shows up well. We get her on this corner hook here, gang. We downed her over here. We thought she was going to lie from the corner. We were correct. We down her. We carry her all the way to this corner hook. And what's at this tile, y'all? What is it that makes this hook so strong? Okay. Well, first things first, the only pallet is this pallet right here, right? You look at what's available after this pallet, there's nothing. You've got a long run to a broken door to get into main building. You've got literally nothing on the left. You've got this jungle gym way out there. But again, we already downed her there, gang. We already downed her and carried her all the way back here. There's very little. And that's what we were playing around. We purposefully, because we had hooks over here, but we purposefully carried her to that hook way back there, explicitly with the intention of tunneling her off the hook once someone unhooked her. Again, as I mentioned, I wasn't even playing around the possibility that she hit second state. We were not camping at this point to make sure that she hit second. We were camping at this point to capitalize off of the unhook, play around the base kit BT, and get her back on that hook as soon as possible. The further away you are from hooks like these, the more you enable the chance for survivors to not only provide support for them after they unhook, to chain away from the tile, but also in this case, think about this. We're going to talk about this right now because this is a big damn deal. I'm going to real quick pause and mention, I was wondering why this Quentin brought For the People when he didn't bring Buckle Up, because everybody talks about that, right? That meta with For the People plus Buckle Up, pick up slugs off the ground for any tunnel especially. That's very good. But why do you think this Quentin had For the People, gang, if he didn't have Buckle Up? Can y'all guess? I only realized this after watching this match back. Well, let's take a look. So we come back here, right? And if y'all remember, I mentioned that we're not expecting this to hit second. What is it that went wrong here, gang? Do you see this? Do you see this? This Quentin wasn't entirely looking, but I'm telling you right now, he thought at this exact fucking moment, I'm telling you right now, that I was going to commit from this angle, push through here around the corner toward the hook, right? Right as he was getting the reassurance. And that's why you're going to see this. Watch, right? We're going to complete the reload. Look at this. Look at this. Do you see why this pallet dropped right here? I was so fucking confused like this. It seemed like a blunder, but I really think what the mistake truly was as we were coming around here and we're doing this, he thought I was going to cancel my reload just like I did, especially with the Kate, come around this corner, right? And this pallet drop, as we see, would make fucking sense. Because what's that going to do? What's that going to do? If I have to kick it, it's going to give him any chance to break away from the tile, avoid that injury. But also, at any other chance, it gives him a chance to come back. Excuse me. Gives him a chance to come back and get this. So he's able to pick her up, right? But because he's injured, do y'all see this, right? He's not able to get his For the People. This would have been a big deal. If we did not punish this, if he would have been able to get this For the People immediately off the hook, that would have made tunneling extremely harder. Because here's the problem. Some of y'all would probably be wondering, why would we not attack the Quentin? There are 2 reasons why. 2 reasons. First things first, if he would have gotten that For the People, he is made for this. Again, remember, There are 3 people on this team with made for this. The only person who does not have made for this, the person we tunneled first. The Quentin has made for this and for the people, which means he would have forced the injury onto himself, right, to fully heal the Kate. And then if I would have chosen to swing at the Quentin, made for this, hold W, break away from the tile, you now have a split of 2 survivors, Kate going one direction, him going the other. The Kate would be healthy, which means I would not have to go through 2 health states. Equivocably, what this is, what you would be seeing from the Quentin in this situation, is he is applying, essentially, off the record onto this Kate. Off the record without the sound and without the aura protection. That is essentially what For the People would be doing here. But again, he's injured because he made the mistake of assuming we're going to follow directly through the tile when he got the pallet drop. Getting that injury means he can't do For the People. And that's why we were able to tunnel all that much easier. Now, again, I mean, we all saw where, he got the blind off the grab, right? And, as a result, she was able to go all the way back. We had to chase, get the hook, put her on the bad hook here, right? We go forward about 15, 20, 30 seconds, right? But, that is essentially what it's all about. We took what we could get, but again, we punished the For the People. That For the People would have been very game-changing. It would have, with the speed and the efficiency they were doing these gens, that could have been something that cost me the game. You can't afford to waste that time. And again, going back, right? We go look at these builds. Let's go back to the builds here. It's not like we could have afforded just to chase somebody else at this point. We couldn't afford to spread hooks. Double resilience, triple made for this. What if we went for the Fang gang? What if we went for this Fang, right? And we hooked her, and this very same Quentin came through and applied the For the People to her for some weird shit, right? Like, there are so many ways where genuinely spreading your hooks is going to cost you your games. I don't tunnel and camp to make people feel bad. I talk about this all the time on stream. I literally do this because when you are going against strong and coordinated teams like this, and this wasn't even a 4-man, this was a 3-man stack, you really have to do it. Triple made for this, double resilience, For the People. You can't spread hooks against this because altruistic perks like this, efficient perks like this, punish you the most on a low mobility killer when you spread your hooks. All that time that you spend on mobility when you're playing a low mobility killer becomes wasted, okay? And that's what we see here. So what was it that won the game? Let's talk about the main points of this match that won us the game. Well, first things first, this chase right here was a very big deal. Being able to down the Kate where we did was a kind of a problem. We didn't want to hook her where we did, but being able to carry her all the way to this corner was a big part of getting us our early pressure. Because look at this corner. Again, there's very little that she can do when she gets unhooked. She's got a window right here. She's got a pallet right here. But what else does she really have here, gang? She doesn't really have anything. Keep in mind about that, because that's something you really should be playing around. And like right now, again, we're not kicking this door because we are expecting to chase the survivors inside. They do just finish this gen. We are actually kicking this door in order to set up for this one unhook. Because again, I mentioned this a little bit later in, we are not playing right now with the expectation that we are going to get her to second state. We're camping for the follow-up on the tunnel. Okay? Clown is low map mobility, and that is something you're going to have to do. You don't have to full send it, right? You don't have to be right on top of the survivor, but you do have to be at most a tile and a half away with base kit BT if they're in a position like this, if you really do want to prevent them from getting anywhere significant. So as you can really see, I'm kind of a little bit outward. I'm not directly on the hooked survivor because I'm not really trying to be, I'm not trying to, I know they're not going to get the unhook immediately, and I'm trying to push them away from it, right? But further, I know someone's likely going to make their way through. And after the new camping changes, gang, all it takes is one survivor to get the unhook. You don't actually need two to coordinate it anymore. Unless the killer is running save the best for last, and they have like 6 to 8 stacks, they time it perfectly, you're going to be able to, at minimum, trade a 1-for-1. The person goes down, and then, you know, you either hook them or you leave them slugged and you chase. It's going to be the same outcome, quite honestly, to what you'd really see if you just didn't have to save the best for last at all. Now, that's not to underscore save the best for last, obviously, because, you know, that reduced time means you're going to be able to chain and chase them to the tile much easier. But it does mean that just like someone who doesn't have save the best for last, you're very likely still going to be slugging the person who does the unhook before you chase the tunneled person afterward. And that's kind of the big deal, right? Because that is basically what we see here, except there's a little bit more nuance to it, and I want to point that out. So notice we get this yellow. We start setting up this yellow, and look at this Quentin, right? He's coming in, except this is the mistake on the Quentin's part. Quentin assumes that I'm going to cancel this reload right now, and that I'm going to chase right after him to prevent this unhook. Except here's the problem. That mistake that he made, which was the driving factor behind his decision to go to this pallet, meant that after he dropped it and being stuck in animation, I could injure him. It doesn't matter that he applied reassurance. It doesn't matter that this pallet separates the two of us. What matters is that now he can't use For the People. He can't use For the People, and that means because regardless, this is good. He did really well here. This bought time. But if we fast forward, gang, we fast forward. You know, I hit her with the 360 figure eight. Like I like to almost call this the tornado cyclone. It's really dependent here with the fire barrel and getting the angles on the bottles. That's why we were able to down here, irrespective to the pressure that he provided from this blind. However, that doesn't mean that the blind itself was useless. Right? The blind itself meant that after we downed her, we did have to hook her on this one hook right here. But that was really the only thing that really hurt us here, right? We did use a coup stack to get that one down there. And as y'all will notice, we did use our last coup stack as well to down the Quentin, as well as create the slug pressure off of that. But why was I not concerned about using my last coup stack, gang? After all, we're trying to get rid of this cape. So why would I not be concerned about my coup stacks? Because I expect these efficient survivors to be working on another gen. I am purposefully using my last stack to get this down that much quicker to slug the Quentin. Because if you look what happens when we come back, the unhook just now happens. Now I want y'all to basically detract 8 meters of distance. Okay, that would be about, not so much right here, about right here, minimum. If you think about if I didn't use coup de grace to slug this Quentin, that's why we did it. We purposefully used coup de grace to slug Quentin to save us that extra time, because it meant we would be that much closer when this one unhook happened, with the understanding that the last survivor who is not being pressured, what are they doing, gang? Look at the gen counter. They're working on generators. So that last stack of coup de grace that we used to slug the Quentin, putting us at 0 stacks, now goes up to 2. Knowing when to use your stacks, knowing when you're going to getting them back, playing around the macro efficiency of survivors is very key when it comes to performing well on Clown, because your macro decisions have to be on point due to a lack of your macro potential. Clown excels at the micro. He's good in the chase. He's not good at deciding to pressure multiple survivors at once. The best he does at pressuring multiple survivors is when they directly involve themselves with him to prevent him from doing the pressure that he's looking to do in the 1v1, right? In this case, tunneling out the cape. We see the Fang showing up to prevent that. That's the best that they can ultimately do in this case, right? So Fang did, like we see her show up. I get screwed over by FOV, but that's, I digress, besides the point. And it's this that really buys them the most time, okay? We do eventually chase her, we do eventually catch her, we do shenanigans at the pallet, we push her back to the exact same tile. But again, I have tactics of playing around momentum. Cigar Box provides a very strong asset. And again, we have coup de grace. Specifically, coup de grace was very instrumental in getting this down. You know, especially when you consider that we have a Quentin nearby. Getting the down sooner is a big deal. And also being able to punish that was a big deal, especially with Forced Penance. Okay. Once this Kate was out of the game, things changed. Things changed because what do y'all see right now? 3 injured survivors. Those are 3 people that if I initiate chase with, it's going to be very likely very quick if I play well. And there's going to be very little that they can otherwise do. Because one of the biggest strengths to a survivor in Chase against Clown is capitalizing off of the speed distance that you gain once you've been injured, right? That speed boost from a hit is very good for survivors against Clown. And you don't gain that if you're starting the chase while injured. And that's what we have right now. And that was, you know, why I mentioned we're not chasing the Quentin. Because I know for a fucking fact, and I say that definitively, I say that candidly and crassly, that Quentin is not healing for a long fucking time. He's got 80 seconds on the clock. Do y'all see the perk icon? That showcases how much time that we know for a fact he is not going to be healthy again through any means. I always make sure to put explicit emphasis on this because that's what I like to talk about when it comes to the power of Forced Penance. Forced Penance is a level of assurance that is unrivaled compared to any other anti-healing perk. So we get that, we purposefully commit to another chase, and because all of these survivors are injured, that's what enables what you see that happens in the follow-up, right? This Fang's dancing around and all that shit. Yeah, she gets me at the kill shack for a bit. She wastes my time. But what happens after she wastes my time, gang? What happens here? We go on a nice little dance, a nice little run. She takes me to an LT. She plays it rather well. And she chains it into a pallet. I purposefully avoid the stun by canceling my Q. Keep in mind, even with the buff too, we still have 2 stacks left over. You know, that's why we can afford to do things like that now with the buff. The buff is really great. But what happens after that, gang? What happens? DLC? We come over here. Quentin's injured. Quentin is injured, and he's displaced from the rest of the map. This is Groaning Storehouse, which is like a nice little push out on the north end. It is a push out on the right. It is a nice little chunky, you know, meat section in the mid with the main building and a little bit around. But that's the thing. He's cut off from the chunky main, the chunky, center. Instead, he's got the top, and at most, he's got the right, maybe with some kill shack. But again, what did we do? We already kicked kill shack. We're able to push Quentin into that corner. And, you know, I guess he's panicked. This is something a lot of injured survivors will do when they start chasing against Clown. He runs right into me. He doesn't know the strategy we have in mind. He didn't recognize we throw the yellow to go through the yellow. And maybe he thought we made a mistake. We threw the wrong bottle. But, you know, regardless, we get this down. And look at this, gang. Look at what happens with this next hook. This is the second big factor in how we're able to do so well. We hook him in this corner. Now, just like with the Kate, look at this. Except it's a little bit more pressure-wise, right? There's 1 generator remaining on the map. We've got Quentin sitting on the hook in this corner. But look at the Fang and the Kate, gang. They're injured. This means that if any single one of them wants to come over to get this unhook, they're doing it while extremely vulnerable. I can down them in 1 hit, okay? And not only that, remember what we're running. We have coup de grace with 4 stacks. I can afford to be greedy with my Q stacks. I can go for whatever downs are necessary because I have so many stacks that I could basically make 1 mistake per survivor. And with how strong Coup itself is, that window for actually making mistakes is extremely small. You factor in yellow and pink bottle usage in tandem with each other plus Coup. This is the pressure you need to prevent this win unless these people reset. But what happens, gang? Again, we get them in this corner, and they're split. Fang comes over here, but do you know what I notice? If she's right here, in front of me, and I don't see Kate, I know for a fucking fact they can't be resetting. So if they can't be resetting, and Fang's in front of me, that means Fang can't go for the save. So who can go for the save? Kate. But where is Kate, gang? We have no idea. But you know what? Because that gen did just pop, we know that it wasn't the Fang who popped it. Can we see it? Can we look over here and see, I believe? I don't know if that was a notification for the person who did the gen. But since we know that Kate is out of place, she is out of place to come in for the unhook even while injured, that means that we are able to kick this pallet while they are still displaced with the knowledge that they're not healing. And look, we see her right there. They can't do anything at this point. Because if they're not able to heal, if they're both injured, if we have coup de grace, and we are maintaining a choke point, there is little possibility, if any, that they're pulling anything off. Now, how is it that they get the unhook, gang? How is it that that happens? Because we take risks. I mentioned this near the end of the match. If you want to truly win your games, you gotta sometimes take risks. What happens if we didn't take risks, gang? Do you know what could have happened? A little bit before this point, around the time that I kicked this pallet, pay attention. I could have come up to kick this pallet, and right as I kicked this pallet, do you know what this Fang could have done? She could have fucking held W to main. Why? Why would she have done that if that was the smart decision? Because look at how much time is left on that Quentin, gang. First hook. He is first hook. He has got plenty of time to roast. Okay? Fang could have gone back to main. Kate could have gone back to main. They could reset, figure something out, come in. Why would that be good for him? Because I'm playing clown. I don't have the mobility to commit to that with assured confidence. What happens, gang, if Fang would have done what I just said and they weren't going to heal, and I purposefully committed with the intention of catching them off guard and snowballing off of that, and Kate went back to actually get the save when I wasn't there for it, possibly reset, when there's only one gen remaining, when I don't have any hook pressure on anybody else? Can anyone guess what would have likely happened? Those gens would have popped before I killed the second survivor, and I would have had to fight for the 2K. I would have had to fight for it. I'd have to get a very strong hook during the post-gen phase, playing against both a Fang and a Kate who could heal each other, going for that unhook. I would not have had the chance for the win. And that is why it matters, okay? That is why they should have ultimately did that, and why it hurt them that they didn't. Because y'all can even see it, right? Y'all even see. Fang went to main. And because she's going to main, and I knew that she would have been in a bad position for me to chase, I now put the pressure onto Kate, and as a result, I was going to put the pressure onto Kate, who is positioned at this pallet. Remember, there's a pallet right here. Fang comes back. Except here's the thing, gang. She's got nothing at this point. She is overextended. She can't make it back to main, and she has to go towards Shack. There's no pallet right here. There's no pallet right here, gang. Yellow plus pink. Remember, I'm still invigorated, and I have Q. She goes down that much sooner. There is nothing. All that's left for this team is the Kate. Kate has to extend at this point. She has to put in. But again, look at this hook, gang. This is why I talk about hook placement. This hook placement is literally what won us this game. The second hook on top of the first. Because when Kate does have to come in here, look at this. She's already pushed inward. This is the bare fucking corner of the map. There is nothing but a pallet and a window. Okay, pallet right here, window back there. That's it. That's all they've got. And since I'm able to isolate them, since Quentin does not have anti-tunnel, I'm able to wait out the Quentin, get the down onto Quentin. And since Fang doesn't have Unbreakable, that means I've now cut them away. I've cut the Kate from this map. This hook did two different things. Okay, pay attention to the two layers that this hook essentially won us the game. Not only does it force the Kate in and enable me to put pressure on the Quentin without any tunnel and down him before he got out of that corner, okay, as we're going to see here. He doesn't play the pallet. We know that he potentially could get the stun off the pallet so we can see possession. We get the down right here. right? We're waiting out the base kit BT. Since we specifically hooked him, and that pushed both the Kate and the Quentin there, Kate is now in this corner, okay? She has no option of protecting herself, getting out of the corner, or getting toward the Fang, picking up the Fang. And that is why you're going to see me. I don't start reloading till I see her. I want to see what she's doing. I start reloading, but then I cancel. Why do I cancel? Because I know that all she's got at this point is to push from this corner, run in the direction of main building, opposite from where we down the Fang and we down the Quentin, and hope that she can sneak by and pull something off. That or do hatch. But ultimately, that's all she's got. That's her best shot. So if we purposefully position ourselves the way that we did, we are cutting her into this corner, or as I like to say, slicing the tile. Except we're going further. We're slicing her into the map. Okay? We get our reload here. Notice, look. She's deciding. She doesn't know. Does she go further back, or does she try to go left or right? She really has no fucking idea. Really pay attention to the micro movements that she's making. She's pushing forward, she starts going back, but then she cancels, she goes right, but then she cancels, she goes back, she has no fucking idea what to do. Because every single one of those decisions is going to get her killed. She can't get out of this corner. She can't. That's why you see her make this play. Do you know why she's running inward? Even she recognizes she's not getting out of this corner. If she goes back, I'm not letting her get back inward. If she goes deep into that tile, I'm cutting it even further. It's like I said, this is why I call it slicing the tile, gang. You are just periodically restricting access to their movement. So we get this yellow. And because I realized at this fucking moment, this is her only shot, and I realized that she noticed that, that's why I commit to this lunge. And if she was a male survivor because of the bug, for those that don't know, male survivors go farther when they fast fault. This is a fast fault. We wouldn't have downed her here. And that down, gang, is what won us this match. This is ultimately what won us this match. Okay? We were able to down her. Fang had no unbreakable. Quentin had no unbreakable. Soul Guard, nothing. We pick him up. And that's a wrap. But I want y'all to really pay attention. Look at the gen counter, gang. Look at how many hooks we had overall before we started hooking everyone. You know? Again, I remind everybody to go back to the perks. Look at the perks the survivors had. If we had spread hooks against this team, and I say this very confidently, I would have not only probably lost 2K at best, I think many other clowns would. Many others. I'm not saying every clown, especially with different builds necessarily, like, I mean, Pinky Finger, but I digress. You know, teams like this, when you are playing conventionally, you do have to employ these types of really aggressive and sweaty strategies. Camping, tunneling, slugging, and very, very punishing hook placements, basically. That's what it's all about. Now, to wrap things up, you know, again, we're going to pull us back to the builds here. You know, we did, like I said, we barely pulled off the 4K here with the slug. This could have changed depending on if they brought different perks. But ultimately, gang, I do hope that this was very helpful, and I thought it was very explanatory. I'm trying something a little bit different here with this video. We tried actually going with the step-by-step playbacks and looking at things directly instead of just talking about things and what happened in the post-game. I'm just trying different methods to see what's more helpful to people. So, again, you know, I hope this was, you know, I hope this really taught and said what needed to be said. And if anyone's curious to see these matches live, again, I said this was a highlight. Y'all can catch me on twitch.tv/Arinad. And until next time, gang, you know, I'll see y'all later, and I hope y'all have a nice day, and take care.